is Dr. Rachel Herbst, and I'm a psychologist that works in primary care in Cincinnati. I have some additional questions that we've been asked this week about coronavirus, and we're going to jump right in with some questions that are related to ways that we can help kids. First question is, how can I explain to my children what's going on in the world without making them upset? This is a great question. Kids are super smart. They pick up on things that we don't even realize that they have heard, and they're really vulnerable to misunderstanding complex issues. And so we're going to talk about some specific strategies to address that. First, ask what your child knows about coronavirus. This gives them the opportunity to take the lead. It lets us know about misinformation that we may need to correct, and it ends up exploring where they got their information from, which is helpful for us as adults to know. Then ask, what are you most worried about? This provides us opportunities to really get to their emotional experience of what's going on. And kids can be worried about things that we're worried about as adults, or sometimes they're worried about things that we haven't thought about. So for example, I know one child who is worried about whether or not she's going to look silly when she has to be on Zoom with her virtual classroom. And that might not have been the top thing her mom was thinking she was worried about. So that gives us a great opportunity to join with the child and to figure out specific strategies that are related to their worries. We can also answer their questions about coronavirus in really small, bite-sized pieces. We can use facts that we know. So for example, we can share with them that we know that this virus doesn't tend to affect babies and kids, and when it does, it's a lot less severe. And if we don't know the answer, we can be honest. We can tell them that we need to look up the answer together. There are some great resources that help you in explaining this to kids. There are some stories out there about coronavirus that are illustrated. There are some comics that are out there by NPR that are great for school-age kids. And then Sesame Street has a great caring toolkit that has all kinds of information that helps kids understand some of the recommendations about washing your hands and social distancing. Then we can tell kids that we're going to focus on their safety, that the responsibility of adults, so mom and grandma, know that you're worried. Our responsibility is to make sure that you're safe. The responsibility of doctors, nurses, and teachers is to help kids stay safe. And we can help kids really understand how they can be in control of their own safety. So things that are at their disposal, like washing their hands, covering their mouths when they cough, staying home, those are all ways that they're helping themselves and others in their community stay safe. And then finally, we can look for the helpers. As Mr. Rogers said, this is a time when we can look to see how the community has come together. We can talk about how teachers are helpers in new ways, that the police are helping make sure that people are following the rules, that doctors and teachers and mail carriers are doing their jobs and helping keep us safe. And so pointing out these signs of strength in the community are another way to help kids through this time. And then one final note about this, just be mindful of your own stress and your own anxiety. Kids are really good at picking up on this, even though we think as adults we're good at hiding it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Second question, my grandkids are upset about not going to school and seeing their friends. I think this could mess up their mental state because they believe they won't see their friends again. What can I do to help my kids calm down? So your response to this question is really going to depend on the age of the kid. So for younger kids, they tend to be more concrete, think in black and white. And so giving them some really concrete strategies, coming up with a social story that helps them understand what's going on with coronavirus, why they can't see their friends right now, how they're feeling about it, and what they can do is a good way to help them understand what's going on in the world right now. We can also help them think about strategies that they can use to connect with their friends. So making art, writing letters, sharing videos, singing songs, reaching out to the teacher in the virtual classroom so that they can connect with other kids. That's another strategy to help reduce some of that stress and anxiety. And then if you've got a car, maybe you can drive by the house of a friend and have the friend come to the window and wave. All of these ways that help kids be able to really see and feel that connection are great. For older kids, we can use the same strategies, and we can tap into technology in ways that they were already using it before coronavirus. So making more TikTok videos, sharing more like Snapchats, whatever it is that they were doing beforehand, really thinking about being intentional and using that as a way to connect now. And then finally, kids of all ages look up to adults to see how to act and react. So we can be good models of using these same strategies ourselves. The next question is, how do you describe social distancing to preschool-aged kids? This is a great question because it's hard to explain to them why they can't, see or kiss or hug grandparents. And so we can start with an explanation of coronavirus in general, using the tips that we talked about earlier. And then we can explain that we're not having play dates right now because we need to keep our germs to ourselves. And that helps keep everybody safe and healthy. And then finally, tapping into that Sesame Street toolkit that I was talking about before, that's got some great ideas of things that they can do, that they can control. So there's a great video of Elmo giving virtual hugs to his granny. There are great ideas about using, again, art and story and music to help feel that connection. So just doing those things that they did before in a different way and being really concrete about using them as ways to feel connected. So now we're going to move to ways that we can help ourselves as adults. The first question in this section is, what are some ways that I can control my own mental health during coronavirus? Coronavirus has created a lot of stress for everybody that impacts our daily lives, and we can't control that. But what we can control is how we deal with that stress and how we promote our mental health. So some general strategies that are helpful for this are creating really good eating and sleep routines, physical activity routines, routines around how and when and how much of the news that we consume or conversations that we have about coronavirus. Remembering that we're doing physical distancing, not social distancing. So as I was talking about before, thinking about how we as adults connect with others by phone, video chats, letters, in person but distanced visits. So you might have seen some of the YouTube visits of family members visiting elderly family members in nursing facilities where one comes up to the window and they're able to interact but have that physical distance that keeps them safe. And then finally, thinking about pleasurable activities that you enjoy. So humor, TV shows that meet your emotional needs or transport you to another place, activities that you enjoy doing or have always wanted to learn how to do, and being able to teach and share these with other people in your household is a great way to promote your own mental health. The next question is, how can I tell if I'm stressed? So stress can look different for different people, and stress is our body's way of signaling to us that we need to pay attention to our health and mental health. And in general, stress results in changes to our sleep and our appetite. I know that's where I feel it for myself first. Changes in our focus, our attention, our short-term memory. Changes in our body. So this can be muscle tightness, headaches, stomach aches, pain, and changes in our mood, feeling more irritable, having just kind of a shorter fuse in general, feeling maybe a little bit more negative or down. And then finally, changes in our interactions with other people where we feel less connected. Our final question is it unhealthy to research coronavirus? It seems to make me feel worse, but I also want to know what's going on in the world. It is really wonderful to be aware of this because it's a really careful balance and it's going to look different for each of us. In general, it's helpful to have facts about stressful things like coronavirus, but this needs to be balanced with other parts of your well-being. So as we were talking about before, being tuned in to those signs of stress and using those as a barometer of how much you're consuming all this information is super helpful. In general, I recommend that families think about what their boundaries are in terms of how much information they're taking in from the media or social media, where they are when they're having conversations, how long those conversations last. One family that I work with has come up with a really fun strategy to help each other maintain these new boundaries and these routines. So if anybody is talking about coronavirus outside of that scheduled time in the routine, then they make somebody else in the family sing the Baby Shark hand washing song. Wash your hands, do 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 do. Wash your hands, do 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 do. So that it becomes this humorous connecting thing, but as a gentle reminder of those limits. So I hope that this information was helpful. My colleagues in behavioral medicine and clinical psychology through Cincinnati Children's are available at any time to be able to answer questions that you might have or to support you more as you're adjusting to the stress related to coronavirus. So you're welcome to give us a call and stay well.